Guys, welcome to the Improvement Season podcast. It's me, Steve Hall, and on the other end, just downing an espresso, is Pascal Floor. How's it going? How was the espresso?
It's good. It's good. What can I say? Nothing fancy.
Have you ever tried it? What's it called when you put it over ice cream? Have you ever tried it like that? Or I swear that's a thing,
over
right?
Over ice cream?
Yeah, like putting an espresso over ice cream, or even is there such a thing as like a coffee float where they put ice cream in your...
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised. But I've never been that type of guy who enjoys coffee flavor in other things but coffee. So I do vividly remember when I was younger, there were also like candy, so chocolate candy with then a toffee or a coffee bean inside or so, where it's just like,
I really like those.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, I love chocolate. Like coffee chocolate is like that's the best thing. And I have had, until I was like realizing I don't want crazy amounts of caffeine, I would I could imagine years ago, I would have in a prep just eaten like coffee beans, because like dried coffee beans, I would have just eaten them because they're like really crunchy. There's like minimal calories, but there's quite a bit of caffeine that adds up. But I've certainly had like chocolate covered coffee beans. Was like Charlotte bought me like a massive bag of them one time.
I never was a fan of those. Never.
I don't know if
anything that has anything that has a coffee taste to it that is not coffee, I honestly don't like. Which reminds me of, has there been, and I would very much assume that maybe this was even a UK product, the way the package looked like could be a UK product. Have you ever heard of like kids coffee?
No.
This is like, so in Germany we have something that is called Karo Kaffee. So
okay,
coffee basically for kids. And there was even a commercial back when I was young, like in the 90s, of like Karo Kaffee, so coffee for kids. So I assume that it's without caffeine, has just the flavor of coffee. Or maybe it was decaffeinated coffee that is then still caffeine in there, right? You can't really extract all of the caffeine. But you don't see that. Okay, I'm not watching any kind of television any longer, so perhaps that's still a thing. But I was wondering whether there was something for you. I could see that you being like kid that drinks kids coffee.
I could
just every listener now, just think about Steve. Look at him. Just imagine what he looked like when he was younger with his beard at the age of 9, zipping on his kids' coffee.
I've got a few thoughts. First one, do you know the Haribo kid? Like that little kid with dark hair, red what are they called? A red like suit.
Oh, yeah.
I used to get the nickname Haribo Kid because I look like the Haribo Kid. Secondly, we have things like you can go to, I think it's because the kid like wants to enjoy a drink with the parent, and some not restaurants, coffee shops do like a baby chino or something. I think it's just frothed up milk. I think you can get like a dogachino as well, and it's just frothed up milk that the dog has. And then the other question, I have a question for you. Do you remember the first time you tried coffee?
Yes.
How was it?
So pure coffee was awful. And I started drinking coffee at the age of 22, I think it was. So the first year I actually moved to Berlin. I got together with a girl, and she was always drinking coffee, which was just a mix of 50% milk, 50% coffee, and then a lot of sweetness. So basically, you didn't drink any kind of coffee, right? So it is like going to something like Starbucks, saying you are drinking coffee, and in reality, you just like have that big frappuccino what it's called. Like, so no, you're not drinking coffee. You're eating like a cake, basically. That's what it is that you're doing. And this is how I started drinking coffee, that gradually over time, I probably got a little bit addicted to coffee, and then I reduced the milk more and more so, and now it's black. So,
but you have sweeteners, don't you? I've noticed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're not a full purist.
No, I'm
you're
not
a fake purist.
Yeah, kind of. That's true.
I can remember my first time having coffee, and believe it or not, it was because I was not because of a girl. It was because I'd read somewhere that a black coffee pre-workout was like the best thing to have pre-workout. So I remember just putting my parents.
And was it?
I put my parents, what's it called? The instant stuff. And I just like made like a little shot of it. Oh. And it was like the most revolting thing I ever tried in my life. I was like, how do people drink coffee? It's awful. Yeah. So that put me off for quite a while, actually. And I don't know when I don't know when I started drinking it like as a thing, because I worked office jobs and people were having coffee. I just didn't. It was just like, I don't like coffee. I don't know when I started. Weird. I think it was maybe in like a prep or something. I didn't drink it in my first prep, actually. No coffee. I don't even know if I had much caffeine in that prep. That's weird to think about that.
I'm still thinking at times to stop drinking coffee, actually. Even though that I enjoy it very, very much. That's also why I'm drinking espresso, because I don't really just do it for the sake of feeling awake or so. Like espresso shots, just from the amount of caffeine, is lower in the caffeine amount, instead of just having like a black coffee. But at the same time, I'm just like, I actually do enjoy it. And I think that this is the addict in me speaking a little bit.
How many espressos you have in a day?
3.
3. Okay. It's not that much.
Oh.
I know I did what's it called? I've been trying to do those more in-depth infographics where I have a few slides, and I did the one on caffeine, which I was just like, I have not seen a resource that just covers everything that a bodybuilder needs to know about caffeine. And there was one, I don't know how many papers there's been, but there was that one paper that was just like, you still get the benefits of like the pre-workout benefits of caffeine if you have like a consistent dose. If it was like 250 milligrams a day or something, and you're not even having that much. So you're still getting it, but it could harm your sleep still, depending how late you have it, I guess, and how you metabolize it and everything like that. Is that why you're thinking?
Yeah, and that's exactly where I'm coming from when it comes to being absolutely biased, because you've probably heard that people who are drinking like red wine, they are always like coming up with some kind of positive effects on alcoholic consumption of like, no, this is good for my health, resveratrol and stuff like that, where it's just like, no, you're drinking alcohol. I can't see that it's healthy to drink a glass of wine each and every single day. Can't see that. And this is me as well when it comes to coffee. Well, I think that it can't be that healthy to drink coffee each and every single day. But I'm always looking for a kind of studies that support that it's actually healthy. And there are plenty of ones that are saying like, yeah, it has some health benefits to it. And at the same time, I then just wonder if it's just me who's seeking for confirmation bias and is then overlooking all of the potential negative consequences and maybe negative studies on caffeine and coffee consumption. So yeah, I don't know. Which brings me though to a question, Steve, that Adam, one of my athletes, has asked me, and that is like a twofold question. So the first one is hydration levels changing when you're losing weight. So are your hydration levels changing when you are losing weight? Because, and that brings me to the second one then, is your bladder control different in a cutting phase?
So this is a really cool question, actually, because I'm going to guess at what the reason for it is, because I don't know, but definitely in a cutting phase, I need to pee way more. Wake up in the middle of the night to pee. That could be stress related, but like I just need to pee like constantly. I know if we do like a podcast, like I have to pee before it and like pee right after it. Like I'm just like, it's really annoying. I think part of that is you generally may drink more to kind of abate hunger because you fill your stomach up with fluids. I think some people do that, especially if you're drinking like squash, sugar-free squash, and like these different like sugar-free varieties. I think they're very easy to drink more of. Water, I kind of find it hard to overdo it with just plain water. Kind of similar to like, I don't know, you have potato and then you have like chips. Easy to eat loads of chips, not that easy to eat just like loads of boiled potato. So I tend to find that. And then I think the other thing is, because you're not storing as many carbohydrates, so you're not having to use because when you have like a refeed, this is one of the important parts, like refeeding, a peak week and stuff, you probably need to upregulate your fluid intake because the fact that you're trying to store those carbohydrates, and every like gram of glycogen is like 3 grams of water or something. So I think in a mass, you probably are more so matching your hydration needs because you're just better because you're having all those carbs. Whereas in a cut, I imagine you're overdoing the amount of fluids you need to have. And so the body's like excreting more and more and more. I don't know if there's anything else to that. I don't know if like in fat loss, because the way you lose fat is through like perspiration, your pee, and all these different things. Maybe, and I've actually had this where like I'll have a day in a cut where it's just like I get this whoosh after a day of just constant pissing. And I don't know if that's like stress related. So maybe again, you might hold more water on a cut because you're stressed. But I think the kind of carbohydrate thing amongst with the kind of trying to kind of abate hunger through drinking, I think is the main reasons, at least in my experience.
Yeah, nothing more to say there. I can only just speak from my own personal experience as well, that sometimes in the first initial 1 to 2 weeks when you're entering a cutting phase, you are expecting that you're seeing a bigger reduction on the scale. And sometimes that also co-aligns with me going to the toilet more frequently as well, where then, I don't know, I had it a couple of times where then had like 1 or 2 nights at the beginning of a cutting phase, then I got up like 5 to 6 times to go to the toilet and pee. Where it was just
Sucks.
like, why did that happen? I didn't even drink more, and that just was there for like 1 or 2 nights, and then that was it. And then kind of the probably hydration levels were kind of balanced, or water levels in my body was leveled with then also the sodium levels and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, probably something to that.
Yeah, I wonder if that's just like the initial like glycogen. Well, that's what I guess it is, the glycogen drop, and then you don't need to retain all this water in your body. It's like when you move, you lose that initial like mass bloat type of feeling.
Yeah, and probably also then something to do with the electrolyte balance in your body as well, right? That if you're not consuming that much sodium any longer, that the body is then also getting rid of excess water as well.
That's something I found in my preps I had to take a bit more care of, especially with my edema, was I'd suddenly in my mass be having like all this cereal and like these processed foods essentially that have lots of sodium intact. And then I'd move towards like just plain oats and just all these like things that just have way less sodium. And then I'd be drinking just the same or more. And it's like, now my sodium and like electrolyte balance is not in a good way. And it's like, I have to be a bit more liberal salting things, because I still salt things in my mass, but not quite as much as when I'm cutting.
Yeah. Are you salting your whey shakes?
I don't currently. I have experimented before.
It's the secret, buddy. Honestly, I can't drink whey shakes without salting them any longer, because it's just, that is the flavor that makes the difference.
I do put salt in my oats, actually. I do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Nice. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. So, yeah, while we are at it already, shall we move over to another question then? Or
yeah, was that the 2 parts then?
Kind of
both. Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't know if I had anything else. I was going to go on to something about the coffee and caffeine thing. I was going to say, you're doing better than me in terms of, I'm pretty sure coffee has some like health benefits, and like a lot of the kind of blue zone places consume coffee. I think the dose is the important part. Yeah. I know Broderick spoke a lot about that sort of thing when we did that like full just coffee podcast. Yeah. And I miss Broderick. But you're doing better than me, because I've replaced my coffee, with a Monster every morning. So I'm getting no benefits from the Monster there, apart from the caffeine, and just enjoying it. And I try, and again, this is confirmation bias. I'm like, it hydrates me before my first session of the day. It's like a lot of fluid. So if I didn't have that, I wouldn't drink enough.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can see a possible, that there are some probabilities why it may be healthy, because it is an extraction of a bean, so from a plant, right? So I could see that there may be some things, I don't know, I'm not well read in that kind of department, that may have some health benefits, and due to the way that you're extracting it, so you're not overcooking it, you're slowly extracting it with a lot of pressure. So, and you of course also want to have the acid in there. and you want to have the beans being fresh, all that kind of stuff. So I can see that there may be some potential benefits to that. But then once again, I just think that I may be so biased that I want it to be healthy, when in reality it may be not, or the dose that you need to ingest is so little and we just all overdo it. Possibly. Don't know.
Don't know enough about that. Where someone will comment with a bunch of science. That'll be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could get to questions, or do we need to, I guess it'll be cool for the listeners to hear about what's happening to you if you're happy to share tomorrow. Quite a big day.
Eyes laser, no? I already talked about last week.
Oh, did we talk about it?
Yeah, I just said like it's planned that I'm getting my eyes laser next week. And yeah, tomorrow's the big day. Either next week I'm going to sit here blind, or I'm going to sit here without any kind of glasses. So it's just either or. Losing the eyesight completely, or being I don't know, an eagle then. Seeing very sharp.
Are there any guarantees to like you get 40/40 vision or something?
They can't. So in the contract, right? And the what is it? Medical what is it called? Medical disclosure. Yeah, exactly. It says that they can't guarantee that it's 100%, but it's getting very, very close.
Cool.
So normally it's like that you are able to see 100% normal vision then once again, or reclaim getting back 100% of your vision. But it could also be that you are still then ending up with minus 0.25, which so many people have as well, and they are walking around without glasses. So I am expecting to not wear glasses, but it could also be that after a couple of years, it's getting back to wearing glasses again, because most of the time it's just like the musculature of your eyes, it's not working properly. And because of that, your eyes are either lengthened or squeezed. And because of that, your visual side is impaired as well. And that can, of course, always happen. And that's also one of the reasons why when you're getting older, your musculature is actually getting worse and worse in the eyes. And that's why you start seeing less well.
I think I'm guaranteed to need glasses when I'm older, because I had glasses when I was younger for the longest time.
But credits to you, the glasses that you're always wearing, the blue light blocking glasses, they are actually looking good. And I'm not talking about the orange ones.
Or my, what they called, they're like 70s or 80s, like the big yellow ones.
Yeah.
They make the world look cool. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I'm happy for you that you're walking around seeing everything like through those glasses.
And then what was I going to say? So then after the surgery, you have basically like 2 weeks of recovery. You're going to take a week off and then slowly build stuff in. And hopefully, if all things go to plan, the diet starts.
Exactly. So basically, you just said everything that I was supposed to say. Yeah, the week after, I'm definitely not supposed to do any kind of hard training or intense training. There are a couple of other things that I need to look out for. So, for example, not swimming, not being in, like doing sunbathing or so, and also not visiting the sauna, which is, of course, the hardest part of everything, because I love getting into the sauna, being naked around other people as well. But yeah, this is something that is a sacrifice I'm more than willing to do here for those 2 weeks. And yeah, then it's just a normal procedure then, right? Just continuing to. So the doctor even said that when he underwent surgery, he left the clinic and was able to see already. He was just still full on drugs, and that is something that I will expect to be the case for me as well. And that's why someone has to pick me up, because I'm not allowed to participate outside on the street with the other people there.
So, I'm excited.
I mean, the thing is, it's Berlin after all. There are a lot of people outside on the streets full on drugs. So I wouldn't probably even be, I don't know. People wouldn't even notice.
And you have no, we just had our kind of I guess, a timeline of when we're going to, our exit strategy to COVID, essentially, as Boris has just said it. And I mean, dates are always subject to change, but we're kind of like, we have that light at the end of the tunnel now. Gyms are open in like 6.5 weeks, open on the 12th of April, which is exciting. You haven't had any news of what's happening?
No, first and foremost, very happy for all of the British people out there. Of course, not just the British people, it's also the entire UK, I think, is then doing it. Right.
I actually don't know. It's a good question. I haven't checked it out.
Okay. But anyway, everyone who is then able to get back into the gym on the 12th of April, I'm happy for you guys. Hopefully nothing will change in the meanwhile. Because this is a long time in the time of COVID, right?
Yeah.
And we know that a lot of things can happen during that time. So, yeah, no, right now, I think the reason for why you guys are now ahead of us is just because of your progress of vaccination.
Yeah. We're on like 17 million coming towards that or something.
And that is great. And in Germany, it's just, man, it's a mess what is happening in the EU. Also in France, for example, but also Germany. They are so freaking behind that. And it's so unfortunate because each and every single day that passes where they are missing the opportunity of vaccinating as many people as they can, they are just like, of course, putting people at risk of potentially dying, being put out of business, stuff like that, right? And it's super unfortunate. But it is what it is. That's the current situation. The numbers aren't going down any further at the moment. We're right on the edge where they wanted to actually lift some of the restrictions. But the thing is that the British virus is now spreading so quickly that because of that, it's kind of stagnating at the moment, even going up in some kind of areas. And that's why they're still talking about keeping further lockdowns and stuff like that. And yeah.
Did you say your hairdressers are open? Are they open?
They will reopen here next week. Yeah.
God, that's mental, isn't it? That they're opening before like a gym where you get healthy and fit. I guess we don't want to go down that route, but
I'm at a point where
fresh.
Yeah, it's much more important to get a proper hairstyle just so that you are sitting at home by yourself or with your family, just to say that, oh, everything's a mess, but my hair is looking fine. That's the most important thing, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know what to think anymore. I just know that, at least the way I feel, I'm getting more and more frustrated. And also, of course, I talked about it, that it puts a strain on your mental health. And if I'm already like that, I mean, our business isn't like, I don't know, totally on the floor and someone's kicking them and you basically just, you know, the Simpson meme or the GIF? Where
sure.
I think Krusty the clown is being beaten on the ground.
Okay.
And the kids are just standing around him and just like, stop it, he's already dead. And this is how I feel already. Yeah. And when I feel like this, that is in regards to our business, sorry for that. Our business is not on the ground. It's not beaten to death already. And if I feel that way, I can't even imagine what it must be like for other people, restaurant owners or who are also or people who are, I don't know, artists working in a theater or whatever, right? There's so many fields that are massively impacted by what is going on at the moment, even much, much worse than we are. And even I am feeling the negative effects big time. I can't even imagine what it's like for them. Yeah. That must be even more severe, right? And I have the feeling that probably there will come a point where people are getting sick and tired of that, right? Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I just want to go back to the gym. That's all I know and care about.
Oh God, the
hack squad.
Yeah, the hacks. It's just so weird. I think I can remember back to last time when the gyms opened, and like after a couple of weeks, it was like they never shut. It's really strange. Yeah. And now it feels like they never opened. And it's like, what's the gym? Like, what is this thing? So
yeah, I don't know. So one of my athletes, he just purchased a hack squat machine for at home.
Really?
Yeah, and he has no home gym. Like, yeah, he hasn't really the space for it. but he got one for cheap, and
He's going in the garden.
probably something like that. And I was just like, man, should I do the same thing?
Hi guys, Steve here. Just wanted to take a moment of your time to remind you of the Revive Stronger member site. Inside you'll find a thriving forum, a growing exercise library, presentations, research reviews, and courses. If you want to get involved, sign up via the description.
I think I only have one client. I definitely have one client in Florida. He's got his gym outside, like in his garden. It's like, well, you can probably do that in Florida, I guess. But I've seen Sam, your client, Samuel, and he's training outside in the snow. And
In London.
I think he's bought like 3 different gazebos to try and cover this gym, and it's just nothing works.
This is also the biggest joke there is, right? I can't. So I think the last time that I've experienced some kind of snowstorm was back in 2013, I think it was. And all the years, then the last years, there was never snow. And I would assume that this was especially the case in London. And unfortunately, the year where the gyms are shut and someone needs to do the training outside, it's snowing severely, even in London, and he's still training. that is so unfortunate. It's just like, if there is a God, yeah? And I say if because there are probably some listeners who believe in God. I don't, but that's absolutely all right. If there is a God, he's probably looking down. And it is the same GIF I was just talking about.
He's kicking us while we're down.
Yeah. we are on the floor, and he's just enjoying it and kicking us even further. While all of the angels around him are just saying, like, stop it. They are already dead. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel so bad, but it's awesome to see people like doing that. Like, it's actually awesome to see.
I mean, that is true dedication.
Yeah.
True dedication. In minus temperatures, while it's snowing outside, to still train.
Yeah. Props to everyone who is continuing to train, because I know how hard that must be for me, for you and me, and I think probably for a lot of our listeners. It maybe isn't like quote unquote hard, because it's like it's harder for us just to sit and do nothing. At least at the start it would be, probably become easier over time. But like if I was in Sam's shoes, I'd be doing the same thing. Like, I just know it. Not to say that he's doing it, like, not to discredit him, but I think a lot of our listeners are like, it's not a question, we're fucking just train wherever we have to. If we can, we've got to get this compulsion.
Steve, this kind of now a question that may cause some dilemma for you.
I don't like dilemmas.
It's not that bad of a question, but maybe you're getting some flack for it. If during the time of the pandemic you were a single, would you have decided to actually then travel to some other country and just stay there for the time being?
It's a good question.
Where the gyms are open and stuff like that?
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know, because I just don't even know where I'd be if I was single right now. I think I'd really struggle. I think what would have probably happened is at the start of lockdown, I think I probably would have moved home at some. This is me thinking it through. Just because if I had no one, I would have been like, at least like I can move home to my family home. And my dad has always wanted like a home gym, and he was thinking about doing that in the garage. He hasn't. He probably is never going to. I probably would have forced the issue to happen, or at least just like buy all this equipment to put in the gym. I think that's how it would have happened. But say I was in this position now, and like you saw those people go to Dubai and everything. I'm kind of a bit of a stickler for rules. I'm just that sort of person. So I think if it was within the rules and I could go there, I kind of don't know. Part of me is like, fuck, I want to have done that. Like, that would be really sick, like to have done that. But I wouldn't have wanted to kind of break any, like, especially like small little things I might do, but like going out for a walk twice when only you're allowed out for one bit of exercise. I'm walking Ada twice. I'm going to do that. That I'll admit. But like bigger things, I don't know. I would probably feel a bit too guilty for that sort of stuff. But I will say I'm not perfect, because there was a time at the start of the first lockdown when the gym shut. The apartment gym down here, they were a bit slow on it. So for about half a week or something, that gym was still opening. I was like, fuck it, I'm going to that gym. And I felt bad for doing it. But it's like, in reality, was that a big deal?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know.
Especially because it's an apartment gym, wasn't it?
So, that was like the worst rule, I guess, I broke.
Savage.
But I think it could be really hard, for example, when you have no symptoms and you're told to, like, what's it called? And you're single and stay at home for 10 days because you've come in contact with someone. You're just like, so I'm going to just be on my own for 10 days and stay in. And yes, that's what you're meant to do. But then when you could think, oh, well, I want to go, I have a dog or something and I want to walk them. What, I have to pay for a walker to come? What if I just walk outside and stay away from people? Like, I could see myself doing something like that. And I know, again, that's bending the rules and that's probably not great. And some people might look at me and be like, Steve, that's not a good thing to have done. But I could see that being a tough thing for people, especially if you're just on your own the whole time.
Well, in that case, how would you have gotten some kind of groceries and stuff like that?
I guess you have to do like an online shop if they can.
Yeah, but during the first lockdown, you couldn't get your hands on any kind of delivery service because everything was booked out for like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So you
crazy.
Just needed to stay at home 10 days, starve yourself, like Machinist style.
Takeaways when you're earning no income. Oh, fuck. That'd be hard.
Yeah, absolutely. We received a good question.
Should I ask you now? You'd be like, fuck it.
I honestly don't know.
Dubai.
I honestly don't know. I really don't know
guys.
because I'm in such a different position now with family and stuff like that. But
it's tax free.
I could have. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Probably, perhaps. Depends. I really don't know. I can't say that.
It's so hard when you're not in that position because you're in your position.
There was a good question, and because we are basically chatting about morals and ethical stuff already, the question from Isaac Coe, he asked, what do you think is your co-host's greatest strength and weaknesses? And I found this question to be very, very cool. And I want you to be very honest here. Let's see if this is the Improvement Season podcast is a podcast about transparency. So should I start or do you want to start?
This is the one over on Facebook, isn't it? What strengths and weaknesses in relation to what? Podcasting or as a person in business in
I thought just in general.
Yeah, I'll let you start then, and maybe that'll give me a bit of guideline. Yeah. And then if you're really harsh on me, I'm going to fucking go in. Or I'm going to cry.
Your biggest weakness, and I start with the weakness, is something that I've already told you in the past. And we've even talked about it, was it today or yesterday? That I think you... Is it the right term to undermine or to make yourself smaller than you really are, like less important than you really are? So when it comes to credibility, the knowledge that you have, I think that you don't really put yourself on the platform where you belong. I think that you are kind of putting yourself on the lowest kind of platform, which is something that is very cool. That you have that you don't, I don't know, see yourself being superior above other people. But I also think that this is your weakness because, of course, if you always act like someone who doesn't really have a lot to say and you don't have the confidence of presenting your knowledge, right, in the best way, in the most confident way possible, then this makes you also, of course, look to other people like a target, which you should never be, in my opinion, right? And this is unfortunate because this is the same when it comes to Katie, for example. She always wants everyone to be in harmony. And she sometimes sacrifices her own self in order to make that happen. And some people are just assholes, right? And they take advantage of her as a person because she wants that. And then she becomes the victim of that. And I always want to give her strength. I want to give her a little bit more confidence and a little bit more of, I don't know, an ego-driven, selfish way that she takes care of herself first, because then probably she has more to give to other people as well. And I think that this is, I wouldn't even say that it's necessarily a weakness, but of course you're putting yourself in some shoes that I think you don't belong in. I think you should actually wear some much bigger shoes than the midget shoes that you're wearing, the kid shoes that you're wearing right now. I think that you should wear some clown shoes, like from the side. So that is, I think, your weakness, and I would love you to actually, stand up and just be confident in your knowledge and confident in the person who you are. That's basically it.
Am I doing your weakness now, or are you doing my strength?
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think in some ways it's something that will just always be inherent in me. It's something I think I've improved on, but I still do find it difficult to see myself as, I will never see myself as an expert. I just don't think I deserve that like title, because I don't know, I just don't. But yeah, it is something I struggle with, because sometimes I will not speak as well as I could, or I will be anxious or nervous about something I should be very confident about, and therefore won't present it as well. So in that way, it is certainly a negative, and possibly, like you said, make myself out as a target and not give the knowledge I know and the practice that we do enough confidence behind it. So maybe that would rub poorly off onto the business, onto clients. So that's definitely something I want to work upon for sure, is being like owning it a bit more and being confident in who I am and what I know.
Yeah, on that note, a lot of very successful people in their own fields, a common trait that many of those people have is that they are overconfident in their own skills, which is, on one hand, a very bad trait to have, but on the other hand, it actually gets you very, very far most of the time, right? Because small little setbacks, they don't really hurt as much, because the confidence just outweighs it, and you just push for it. It's like a train, right? You just like, once you get into the momentum, you just like ride on, and it's very hard to stop you. And that is something that I would just love you to be, that train, right? Where the momentum is just like going, because I think that you have the skills. I think that you have the education. I think that you now also have built or gained the experience over years to actually be and step into that confident position and present yourself as an expert. Because me, looking from the outside, I think that you are, but I can also, of course, see why someone never thinks that way, which is also, of course, in some ways a good thing to have, because then you always strive for more, because you don't think that you are there yet.
And I can already say, like, having us partnered up, you did give me more confidence, and at times have given me that confidence like you do with Katie. Like, I felt that, which is nice. Like, it doesn't even take much. You're just like, fucking, you know it. Something like that. So yeah, let me think about your weakness. I struggled because there was nothing like specific that threw out to me. So I was trying to gauge, like, can I give a weakness as a podcast host? No, it's too specific. I would say the one, when I think about, what do you view as kind of a weakness within Pascal, is it in a way is weirdly quite similar to what you gave for me, but a bit different, because I don't think you necessarily are less. I don't think you present yourself like I am, not as confident in my knowledge and speaking and all of those things, because I think you're very confident in that. At least that's the way I feel it. But maybe your negative self-talk sometimes in your own physique, I think sometimes might not help you in your kind of physique pursuits, in that having a like limitless mindset, having a kind of like positive mindset. I often think like body follows mind. And this is something I struggle with as well, because sometimes, like the other day, I posted on my Instagram, I'm not strong at bench press. And someone replied and said, you are strong at bench press. And I was like, man, am I like talking myself down and that's having negative things? Or is talking myself down making me work harder? I don't know. So for you, yeah, sometimes I just, I don't know, it makes me sad to hear that you're like, I look like shit, I hate my body, these sort of things. And those are things, I don't know if you change your perspective, maybe that would just make you more positive. It would make you, I don't know, actually like start enjoying the process more or giving more to it. I don't know. I obviously can't speak to your actions because I'm not there following you every day, and I believe that you are working really hard. So I can't say that, but yeah, just those elements. And then I think potentially I'd love to see more of Pascal. And I think, I don't know if some of your underconfidence in how you look and those sort of things and like your progress or whatever it might be, hold you back from putting yourself out there into the world a bit more. So yeah, I don't know if maybe there's a little bit of a like tough exterior, but then when you break through, it's a bit soft. And like, I'd like the inners to be a bit harder as well. I don't know if that's fair.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, there's definitely something to it. And I do remember the time when I graduated with a very good degree from evening school. And Katie said, like, man, that is freaking great. I was just 0.4 points away from a perfect score, which would have given me entrance to each and every kind of single university here in Germany. And I didn't feel anything, to be honest. And Katie said, like, man, start to be proud of your achievements. And I couldn't. Yeah, don't know. Can't really say anything against that because that is definitely true, and I have such a hard time acknowledging, acknowledging what I'm able to, or what I did accomplish, and crediting. I don't know, acknowledging just like achievements and stuff like that. Having a very hard time. I don't know. This is probably something that is much more rooted in some kind of psychological issues that, I don't know, happen somewhere sometime or so. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And there is. So I can see that to the outside, I may be perceived as someone who is super, super confident all the time. I'm probably someone who comes across like someone who's very an extrinsic person. But in reality, that's quite the opposite. If I could, I would just barricade myself at home and just live my life. While I also know that this isn't healthy, but it would be the easiest thing to do.
Yes.
Right?
I think sometimes
to avoid confronting or having some confrontations with yourself, but also with other people, and yeah. That is probably there's a lot of truth to what you brought up.
I think it's probably a weakness everyone has a little bit, like not putting ourselves out of our comfort zone a little bit in some things. Like we're happy to do it with training and stuff, like, but that's in our comfort zone. Like it's uncomfortable, but it's in our comfort zone. And I know you've said this about me before, where my range is small, where I'm not comfortable. I don't know, traveling really far and like changing my schedule and everything because I'm comfortable with my structure and routine.
That's true.
And I think every bodybuilder probably has that as a little bit of it's a pro because obviously it's a positive. We like our structure and routine, but it's a bit of a weakness for life in general and at times.
That brings me kind of though to your strength, in my opinion. And that is when you have like a focus and you are targeting a goal, there's nothing that deviates you from that goal and target to accomplish that. And that's a great trait to have. And I think, especially I'm thinking, of course, now in regards to this podcast as well, but in general, about bodybuilding, right? You set a goal for yourself and you stick to that. We see it all the time with, of course, unfortunately, athletes of ours, but also then, of course, people online. They are jumping around from one goal to the next. Because maybe they don't know themselves enough. They don't know what they really want and really like. And because of that, they are jumping on always the next big hype that they are seeing or the next trend because they want to do, I don't know, something that is now in. They want to become the next big snowboarder. And then next month, they want to become a bodybuilder. And then after that, it's powerlifter and then CrossFit athlete, right? They're just jumping around from one goal to the next. And you just know what you want in that regard. And you are working your ass off for it. And I think that this is, unfortunately, a trait that you don't really see that often anymore. And I think that this is definitely one of your strengths. That's for sure.
Appreciate that. And yeah, to your strength, I have a few things kind of in mind. You're German, that's pretty strong. No.
Yeah.
But actually, I even thought, I was like, the fact you're bilingual, like you can speak 2 languages, like that's a real strength. And to
3.
speak to that, you just
3.
Oh yeah, because you're Dutch, right?
Danish.
Yeah, so I think Danish. Sorry, I think that's incredible. But to that point, it's there's stuff you do behind the scenes, and even like I'm impressed by, and people won't know this. They might know this a little bit about you, like your knowledge on like finance, knowledge on like current politics, news of the world. Like this is not stuff that is in my wheelhouse particularly. I might watch the news now and then. I certainly don't know as much as you. I just think you've got a good amount of kind of like in-depth knowledge in some areas that are helpful, and they're very practical things towards the business that help us, like your video editing and kind of obviously the podcast editing, all of that stuff behind the scenes that is like imperative to keep the wheel spinning, but doesn't necessarily get noticed. I just think that's like it's a great trait to have such expert. Like it's not like you're an expert and you could like the guys were saying on our call, like you could have your own podcast. You could, but it probably wouldn't be like as popular as some of these other true experts. But you know a lot about these things and enough to really do well in them. And I think that's a pretty like damn good thing. So where I might be like I get all in and obsessed with like one thing, but you can put yourself into many kind of other things that are important and know them well. It's not like you just kind of, I don't know, just talk rubbish. It's like you really know it. So I think that's really impressive to me because I can do that.
Yeah, this is also something that I was always proud of, that being when I like a specific field, I'm becoming dogmatic about it, to the point where I just want to learn more about it. And this is how I got each and every single job that I was doing so far. I was working in the retouching business, which was just like created out of a hobby. I watched some YouTube tutorials and I was just learning each and every single day for hours, and then up to the point where I got my first working jobs for that, and then just evolved from there. And the same goes for fitness as well, right? It's the same for you, right? I mean, you just got into that field because you were curious, you liked that field, and then over the years you just taught yourself a lot of the things that you now know, right? And that's the same thing with other areas as well. I'm just curious with not everything, just a handful of things, but the things that I like, I really want to know a lot about. But yeah, I mean, now we've talked a lot about.
I got one more thing.
Okay, cool.
I just want to say one thing you really brought to me was that essence of you have high standards, higher standards than most, I would say, higher standards than I do. I will, and I used to just go about my business and just put stuff out there and just like quantity. This relates so much to training as well, doesn't it? Where the quality is very important, right? We speak about that a lot in kind of training, but you brought that to the podcast, for example. You wanted to edit it, get proper, a proper microphone, a proper setup, like little things that just level us up. That it just isn't stuff I think about, and I think you have a good eye for that sort of thing. And it's like retouching. I don't know, but you can almost retouch lots of different things that aren't retouchable, but it's like you can kind of analogize it like that. I love that because I just don't have that vision in the same way.
No, cool. Now that we actually...
Hey, Pascal here. I just quickly wanted to remind you of our online coaching service. At Revive Stronger, we put a huge emphasis on the personal aspect of our coaching. And if you want to take your physique and knowledge to the next level, hit the link in the description below.
Shall I get to another question?
Served ourselves some lovely dinner at candlelight with a dessert, and then cuddled, kissed each other. Right? We can move on to some serious questions. Sorry, guys, if that was just so boring for you.
I have a forum question.
Yeah.
Shall I go for it? So it's from Spencer K, and he has said, what is the physiological reason why some muscle groups, calves for example, generally have high per session MRVs, while others, biceps and hamstrings for example, usually have much lower per session MRVs? Does it come down to fiber type, with muscles like the calves being more slow twitch and hamstrings being more fast twitch. I know this doesn't hold true for everyone, but I think this is pretty common amongst experienced lifters. I could also be wrong about that.
I would just pull a lot of things out of my ass, to be honest. I can only make a lot of assumptions, especially when it comes to your example about the calves. What were they made for? It's not the same as the arms, for example. So they were very much made for actually enduring a lot, right? Because they are the ones responsible for moving us from A to B. It's not like the arms. I think that if you were to always walk on your arms, then it would probably be the same. And we know that. We know that there are people actually being born without any kind of lower extremities, and then they are just walking on their arms. And I think that for them, it's kind of the same effect. I don't think that their arms are getting tired, right? It's first and foremost, I would imagine that it's just more of a fiber type thing at first, but also a practicing skill that is then being developed over time, because you're walking the entire time. Right, so I think and can see why that stretched portion of walking alone could actually lead to you being more of having a bigger stamina for a muscle group like this than other muscle groups. In it for itself, though, once again, I can only pull things out of my ass here and just make some assumptions why that is the case, because we also know that fiber type conversion in specific muscle groups always are individual dependent and can even shift a little bit from fast to slow twitch fibers and back again. And that's why I would think it's, of course, genetically dependent, epigenetically dependent, and also just how long you've trained for a specific task, and then it depends on how many muscle fiber types are more so fast twitch or slow twitch muscle fibers.
Yeah, I think it, like you said, I'd be pulling a lot of stuff out my ass as well, and I think a lot of what you said there applies really well. I struggle actually. I got too caught up on the fact he gave the example of calves and high per session MRVs, because I'm like, I actually think I may train my calves, I don't know, sometimes with less volume than some of these other muscle groups. Like, I don't know, maybe similar to hamstrings, but actually sometimes less. Like I don't really train my calves more than 5 sets in a session. That's like maybe the upper end I tend to go. Could they handle more? I actually don't know, my calves, they recover stupid quick. Like my calves just never get sore, but I have like the shittiest calves, and I don't know, they just don't translate a lot of stimulus through them. I'm not sure that the calves are such a weird muscle group. There's a reason why like people really struggle to build them. They are just a bit different to other muscle groups, and like I think the reason probably is, like you said, there's no other muscle group that you're using as frequently as your calves. Like maybe your abs to some extent, but like not the same way as what you use a calf. So yeah, I don't know how to explain it. This is one of those things where it's a case of, I mean, we can talk back and forth about the kind of the physiological reasons why, but it is what it is. So it doesn't practically change what you're doing on a session to session or weekly basis. You just have to auto-regulate based off your recovery and response.
Totally. From a practical perspective, it is exactly that. And if you want to know from a physiological perspective why that is the case, I think we are the wrong people to talk about it, because we are not the experts in that kind of field.
The only other thought I had on it was like maybe exercise selection, like, doing like heavy weighted stretch from hamstrings. Like they just get really beat up, so you can't do that many sets. Whereas like calf raises, they're not exactly systemically fatiguing. You could probably do quite a lot of them. But yeah, what about Pascal? What's the max number of calf raises you tend to go to in like a single session? What's the most you've done?
3 sets.
3.
Oh.
Yeah, so I think mine
mostly due to 2 reasons.
Or so.
Yeah, 2 reasons. Oh. That is, first and foremost, calf training is just freaking boring, same as abs.
Yeah,
and my calves actually get quite fatigued super quickly, actually. So I don't need a lot of sets, and then they are just like gone. And then I just feel that it's more so junk volume afterwards when I'm just doing them. One more thing, just to give another perspective on things, because you brought up like stretch on the load. I think it probably also has to do with how long the eccentric portion, so the stretch on the load, is. So when it comes to, for example, RDL, so hamstrings, it's a huge weight that is then putting the muscles under a load, in a stretch position, and it travels a long way. Whereas a small muscle group, I think that there's a shorter contraction and a shorter stretched component to it. Perhaps that also plays into that. But also there, it's a little bit more of an assumption because I never studied something like biomechanics or any kind of physiological things of like contractile tissue.
Yeah, I wonder if it relates to like how long is your tendon length. So if you have a really long tendon length, there's not that big of an eccentric on the calf. Yeah. It's lots of just fucking tendon. And I imagine my calves insert higher than yours. And so my range of motion every rep and every set that I get there is less total kind of workload because you're just working yours through a longer range. Just like a tall person squatting versus a short person.
Probably,
that comes into the volume equation. So maybe, people with like just like ginormous calves and really small like Achilles tendon or whatever, they just need less because they get such a massive workload. So again, I'm pulling things out of my ass again.
Man,
but I find it interesting. It's an interesting thing to think about.
I'm feeling so sorry for everyone who made it to this point here. Sorry. This episode is a mess.
Just one last thing on calves. I freaking hate calves. I think there was a time where I trained them like every day. And I could get to like 5 sets of calves. And it's just like, I don't know what it is. It's just, I actually find that if I don't find that to be any better than at the moment training them 3 times a week. And I'm just like, I can give each like set more because I'm just like not burnt out from doing calves all the time. They seem to be recovering like every day. But calves are such a weird one. I think I might have heard Dave McConey literally did this where he trained like one of his calves, maybe a year, maybe longer, and didn't train the other one. And guess what happened?
Nothing.
No. The one he trained all the time didn't grow.
Yeah, so exactly. That was what I assumed.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Nothing happened. Yeah.
How ridiculous is that?
Yeah.
Just, why the fuck am I training calves? We don't want to disencourage people to train calves. No. But man, fucking calves.
Oh, God. That's unfortunate.
Just like get to Harry's question.
Yeah, let's do that.
He has said, I have an interesting but controversial one. Do you think it's feasible that someone could take low doses of PEDs and compete in natural federations over a lifetime and not be caught or come under suspicion? It's my understanding that urinalysis is only used randomly, if at all. Same deal with polygraph. The risk of being detected is relatively low. It's possible that there are people actually already doing this. He said, asking for a friend. Joke. JK.
I think that could be the case, but how likely is it? Because if you take PEDs for like a long period of time and you're going through several different cutting phases as well, then you keep your your testosterone levels in a much more favorable spot a couple of times in a row, right? That's also why it's a very, very interesting debate to have of whether TRT, when someone is on TRT, should be still able to compete in natural federations or not. Because thing is that even though that he may not have an advantage during something like a gaining phase, because the other individuals may have normal physiological ranges of test as well, they will, latest in a cutting phase, have an advantage of maintaining a higher testosterone level and thus probably have a higher chance of maintaining muscle mass. And after years of doing that, because you've been talking about lifetime, I would imagine, I have to imagine that it will then show in the physique at some point, right? Also, because we have normally massive fluctuations on our daily testosterone levels. So when we are stressed, maybe when we slept bad, testosterone levels are even fluctuating on a daily basis, an hourly basis. It could be that one day our test levels are much, much lower than on the other day. And I think that stable hormonal levels are probably quite beneficial overall. And that can maybe not do a great difference in the short term, but I can see that over like years, let's say 10 years, it possibly can make a huge difference. And then what's the probability then of not being caught once, right? Especially when you're then competing and you're placing better and better and better, at some point you will probably be tested, because most often the winner or the first placings will get tested, and then you have to pass that. Also, there is a chance that you pass the test, even though that you are getting tested. But what's the chances, right? So I think it may be feasible, but once again, what a question. Because what is it worth to actually just like think about it, right? But just theoretically speaking, I think the likelihood to not be caught at some point is actually fairly low, to be honest. But that's just, of course, a theoretical question, because you have to just like think about scenarios.
Yeah, I think someone who is using, I would imagine Harry's also suggesting that they're good. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, you could use and be not winning or getting close, and yeah, you could randomly not be picked, and so you would just get away with it. But I mean, what's that really doing? It's not really doing much. It's just another competitor that's out there, and I don't really care in that case. But if someone, I'm assuming, if they're doing low doses of PEDs, they're doing well, and it then isn't random. So I think some organizations will polygraph like all winners, potentially all finalists get polygraphed. I can only speak from experience that my first competition season, I wasn't tested once for any shows, but I didn't do like amazing. I was a novice in all of them. I came like second last in my first show, and then I came I'm going to say joint third. I came fourth in my second show, so I didn't do like outstandingly well in the novice classes. And then in my second season I was polygraphed, and that was random, so that was before even the qualifier, and then I got to finals for both of those. Well, the federation that tested me, I don't imagine they'd test me again, but they might have urine analysis. I don't know if they did for other people, but I didn't. And then for the UKDFBA, I wasn't tested for their final. But again, I don't know if they share tests within the season. I guess organizations could be like, they're expensive. They might say, if you've done one on this person, I'm not going to bother doing one. I'm not sure. But I always put myself in those shoes, and I just can't I can't lie. Like, I'm an awful liar. Like, I couldn't pass a test, a polygraph test. I don't even know if I'd pass a polygraph test telling the truth. I get like really nervous just the thought of it. So I fucking shit my pants for all of those things. But the urinalysis, yeah, I mean, there's no fail safe way of doing it, because you can, like, polygraphs aren't used within like police for a reason, and in court for a reason. They're used on like, I don't know, TV shows, because it's just like, why not use it? It's a bit kind of cool. And I think the organizations will try and big up polygraphs, and understandably, because they want to put people off. And I think they're a good way of putting people off. Then the urinalysis, like, you can, like, there are smart people that will be able to piss and be able to pass those tests. It's just that is going to have happened. But I just don't think that many people in natural bodybuilding are doing this. It's just actual competitors. No. Are there people online saying they're natural and then they're not doing shows and they're not natural? Yeah, I think that's probably happening. But actual competitors, I struggle to think that they're going through all that hassle and all that stress. I just can't imagine the stress that must have, unless they've got like a hypnotist and they're like hypnotizing them. You're natural, and they're like injecting them at the same time. Sorry, it's a random thought. And that's the only way they get around this. Yeah, I can't imagine.
I know it sounds controversial now, what I'm about to say, but thing is, just to speak to what you have said there, if someone feels the need to still compete in a natural show when they are on TRT, and they are doing it for the aim of winning, then of course it's shitty, because they are giving other people maybe not a chance to win, because they are, of course, in a probably better position. And it also gives a false impression to other people out there who are maybe following them, who look up to them, etc., etc. Now comes the controversial part, because I think if someone feels the need to do that, let them do it. Reason being, it's just if someone thinks that it's so important for them to win a natural show and do something like that, it speaks more about what a person that is than me needing to judge him about it. Because it's just, let him do it. If that's what he thinks is necessary to win that show, if that means so much to him, then let it have it. Let him have the title then, right? It's natural bodybuilding, right? I mean, it's not that he's going to make a fortune out of that. It's not that it is impacting so many people negatively in life. It's not that other people are now in such a bad spot or so in regards to, I don't know, he's not harming other people in a healthy manner or so, or non-healthy manner. He's not putting other people in danger or so. And if that's then what he feels that he needs to do, for me, it's just like, sorry, but this is more saying about you, what a person you are, than anything else, right? Because for me personally, natural bodybuilding is especially about the journey of making it to stage, see what you are capable of doing. And I know that there are people out there, for them, they have the endeavor of getting a pro card, a natural pro card or so, right? But that's not out of the equation. You can still make it. You can still get your pro card, because if you're natural and you don't get your pro card here this year, then you probably still have the ability to take it on like in 2 years or 3 years from now, right? And if there's then I don't want to name an idiot, because if that is his decision, I can think whatever I want. I don't think it's the right thing to do, but I also then think like, okay, let him have the title if that means so much to him. All right, let him just have it. Why not? All right, you know where I'm coming from with this?
Yeah, I do. I struggle with it. I can see why you said it's controversial, because it's a very easy thing to just be like, you're a piece of shit, you're cheating, like, fuck you. But yeah, thinking about, well, what are the actual kind of consequences of the person doing that? Well, are you going to cheat someone else out of a title, or you, I don't know, like, I guess if they've built their business on it, like, that could, like, or, I don't know. It's a hard one.
But that's what
perspective.
Yeah, but that's what I meant with then in the beginning about giving other people the false perception about what is truly possible for a natural athlete. And maybe some people will achieve that naturally, right? Because we are not talking about absolutely supra-physiological levels of testosterone, right? And if someone feels the need to actually do this to look like a natural pro, sorry, then you are probably not a natural pro. Yes, you get you will get the title, you will get a medal and also the trophy for you at home. But what is this worth when you yourself know that this was kind of not very much deserved? And I see what you're saying. I personally don't think that the trophy and the medal is worth that much. If you look great as a natural athlete and you know you have the what it takes to become a natural pro, one show where this person is then participating in and you are taking second place will not make the difference. You will just take a different show and probably get a trophy or the placing at some other point, right? And that's why it's just like, it's the kid who's cheating. Everyone knows that he's cheating, but you can't do anything against that. And then it's just like, man, let him do whatever he wants. We just end up not playing with him anymore. You know what I mean? It's just, then let him have the first
I get the perspective
place.
Because we all do this like for ourselves, and there is not like the difference between like going pro and not going pro. It's just a title, and if you go pro, again, if you're natural and you've earned that, like in a I guess the regulated way, then you're going to get the huge like satisfaction that brings. But if he wins this, whoever this individual is that we're kind of making up wins it, they're not going to get that same satisfaction, are they? Like
No.
they're just not going to get it. So we all do this for ourselves.
And the
So
people
I can
who
see
feel
it's
cheated,
not-
and the people who feel cheated are probably the ones who still can get that win at a different time. I know that we are then going down a rabbit hole of like, okay, if he's doing that, then that means that probably other people are doing that as well. But then you also have to say like, okay, then you have to differentiate between, are you believing in the good in people or in the bad in people? And I can't just walk around expecting that everyone will do the same as he did then, right? And once again, the perspective on going to a natural bodybuilding show needs to change then for you, in my opinion, instead of for that individual who cheated, right? Because he is whatever you think he is, right? And you can put a stamp on him. But how you participate in the show is then what you make out of it, right? And if you know, like, okay, I have what it takes, once again, there are different shows. You will probably get there if you really think that this is something that you have, right?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, whatever else is going on doesn't impact what you're going to do anyway. So people, like, there are all these, like, always going to be these natty or not videos, and I will have people ask me, oh, do you think this person's natural or whatever? And I'm just like, actually doesn't matter if I do or not. Like, if I think they're natural, then actually that might help me, because I'm like, this guy's fucking huge. Maybe actually the natural limit is much higher than you ever thought. So it's like, I think the people that are thinking everyone's not, or everyone's on something, they're just hurting themselves more than they're helping themselves. And ultimately, it all comes down to you and your journey, which is what you're saying, really. And this hypothetical situation, you're never going to know anyway.
Exactly. And the thing is, what difference does it make? It doesn't, right? If he was on gear
just feels
or not,
uncomfortable.
yeah. If he was on gear or not, right? If he's bigger than you, all you can try is to get bigger as well, right? I mean, yeah, that's all what bodybuilding. I feel what bodybuilding is to me is like a journey of your own development and evolving as a person, right? And that means a transformation of your physique, but also of your mindset. It's your own journey. And I know how freaking cheesy that sounds. I know that. And some people have bigger endeavors than this, and they actually want to get that trophy. But once again, if you have what it takes, you will eventually get there anyway, right? Because that person will, or not in every single show, there will be a person who then took TRT the entire life or so, right? So you will get your chance if you really have what it takes. And if you don't, then you may end up always blaming someone else for like why you have been cheated or whatever, right? And I think that's not what bodybuilding is about, or stepping on stage is about. I really don't believe. But once again, this is just my perspective on things.
My perspective is the same. I trust, wrongly or rightly, I will trust someone's word. So if they say, like, I know people, like, just to put an example, Doug Miller, like, he's incredible, insane. He says he's natural. I have no reason, apart from the fact that he's ridiculous and right at the end of the bell curve of what would be expected to be natural, to say that he's not. So I might have suspicions of him, but if he says he's natural, then I'm just like, okay, cool, you are, like, whatever. And if it comes out that he's not, I'm not like, oh, I'm an idiot. I'm just like, well, I shouldn't have trusted that person, and, well, shame on them. I'm not an idiot for listening to someone and taking their word for it necessarily. It didn't have any kind of bad outcomes on me. And I'm sure there's people that hear that and they're like, you're a fucking idiot for thinking that he's natural. Fine, I don't care. Like, it's all right. This is just the way I assess people, because there's no point, like, I know you hate it anyway, the whole thinking like natty or not. And I'm the same. Like, what is the point? Although sometimes they're funny to watch, the videos.
They are definitely funny. That's for sure. Yeah. And sometimes it's also absolutely right if you're looking for entertainment to watch it, right? But of course, there's no added value there. It's more for entertainment purposes.
I can only think, like, I was watching Fuad recently. I think that's the way you say his name. He's got his big podcast. Broderick was just on it, which is, I started listening to Broderick again, and it's like amazing. But I must think like these guys who are huge, clearly on tons of stuff, what they think to these like, I don't know, these little like, is he now you're not, like for Chris Hemsworth or something? It's like this video of, oh, is Chris Hemsworth now you're not? It's like they must look at it and just, what the fuck, like I don't even know what they must think to these videos. Anyway,
so
have we got time for any more questions?
No, we are already in for 1 hour and 15 minutes. And once again, guys, this episode was a little bit all over the place, I have the feeling. I hope that there was some value in this episode. I'm not entirely certain. But I'm now going to deliver some kind of value. And that is, we're, of course, once again, giving away 1 free month for the membership site. So I'm going to share my screen now with you. Improvement season 187. We have asked about genetics, right? Wasn't it? How much genetics play a role in just like the entire thing? All right, let's see who has won this time. And it is... I can't pronounce that. Luke Aristondo Alzina. That's at least how I would assume that this is being pronounced. He said, this is going to hit hard. I'm feeling it. And then I think in the next comment he made... Then he said, like, oh, no, that wasn't too bad at all. So, yeah, feel free to reach out to one of us. Was he
expecting us to shit on him or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Luke, you suck. This hit.
Yeah, so Luke.
Do we need a question for this time, actually?
Oh, yeah. I would be very interested to hear what people's take on our last discussion is. How they would feel about someone competing in a deceptive way. So, keeping it away from people maybe that they are on TNT and they are still competing in natural federations. Do you kind of, and I really do hope that the things that I said actually give people a little bit of something to think. So food for thought, because I think it's so easy to just like brush it off and be like, fucking asshole, he's cheating, and that's it. But perhaps there was a little bit more food for thought here, and I was able to give a little bit of a different perception on things. And maybe you then are in agreement with me or not at all, right? And I'm just very curious to hear your thoughts, guys.
I think your outlook on that is very stoic. That's what it gave me.
Could be. But a true stoic would never say that he's...
I don't know if...
a stoic person.
Oh, would they not?
I don't know.
You're Aristotle.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm interested to hear what people have to say. I still don't know where I stand. Part of me is just like, he broke the rules. Fuck him.
Yeah.
And
that could be a very, very just straightforward and rational decision to have or stance on that as well. Totally. I can see that.
This is like debating the death penalty, Pascal. That is a can of worms I'm not opening.
Yeah, it's...
Holy shit, that would be crazy to debate that.
I don't know. It's more of a question of like, okay, we have the rules. Why do we have rules, right? And are the rules appropriate, etc., etc.? And does anyone have to obey the rules all the time? Right? And that's more the question, because we can probably all think of scenarios where a rule may be appropriate, but sometimes it wouldn't. Right? And here as well, is it something where you think like the competing naturally is not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things that it wouldn't really make that much of a difference? Or do you think like, okay, we have those rules in place and that's why everyone has to obey to those, because otherwise you could just go into a different federation of just competing there. That's what we have other federations for. So it's a very interesting kind of debate, to be honest.
I have one more thing to add. Sorry to go on. Someone who did the same but got caught and were therefore banned for life. That puts a spanner in the works. Now this person's still able to do it because they didn't get caught, but this person did, and now they're banned for life. Fuck. That makes me feel bad for this person that got banned, and rightfully, because they broke the rule.
Okay,
You still
guys,
feel
let
the
us know in the
same?
comment section below. So I leave it here. I wish you a lovely, lovely week. Until next time, and wish me luck that I keep my eyesight. So until next time, hopefully I see you around. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. So I'm Steve Hall, founder of Revive Stronger and a coach of Revive Stronger.
My name is Pascal Flor. I'm the co-owner of Revive Stronger and also a coach, of course.
Revive Stronger has probably been going solidly for 3 years, roughly about 3 years.
Revive Stronger, to me, it is becoming kind of my child, my foster child. It's the gathering and getting together of like-minded people.
We've been expanding the coaching team, which is helping us help more people, but each coach can only help a certain number of people.
Right now, it's all over the place. We have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, but there isn't that community aspect behind that.
And so the next step for us is developing a membership site.
So basically, we want to create a family and a community that is then benefiting from another.
A really cool community for people within our little niche is going to be a website.
They will get early access to our podcast.
You can access us, ask us questions.
The community aspect, we have a forum there. You can ask questions, but also you can log your journey.
There's also going to be courses on there.
Courses, presentations on different topics, discount of past seminar footage. We will log our journey as well. We'll start vlogging.
We're going to have documentaries.
Our entire athletic journey. Furthermore, they get access to an exercise video library.
The exercises that we love for hypertrophy and maximizing hypertrophy, we're going to go through those in depth, telling you how to execute them.
We kept them concise and also mobile friendly so that you can watch them in between your sets.
I'm super excited to grow this community. The amount of value that we're going to be delivering is huge, and I'd love you to be part of it.
You will get so much out of that.
I'll see you inside.